Can you read this letter? It's very important. The little girl's letter brought the CEO to tears. Before we dive into this powerful story, make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story like this, and drop a comment below letting us know where you're watching from. I'd love to hear from you. The elevator doors slid open on the 45th floor of Sterling Industries, and Freddie Blackwood stepped into his domain, a corner office that commanded a breathtaking view of downtown Chicago. At 35, he was the youngest CEO in the company's history, a man who had built his reputation on ruthless efficiency and emotional detachment. His steel gray suit was immaculate, his dark hair perfectly styled, and his green eyes held the cold calculation that had made him a legend in the corporate world. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared him for what was waiting in his reception area. A small figure sat hunched in one of the leather chairs, dwarfed by furniture designed for adults. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old, with auburn hair that caught the morning light and enormous brown eyes that seemed far too serious for such a young face. In her tiny hands, she clutched a wrinkled envelope like it contained the secrets of the universe. "Sir," Margaret, his longtime receptionist, approached with obvious concern. "This little girl has been here since we opened. She says she has an urgent letter for you, and she won't leave until you read it." Freddie glanced at his Rolex. His day was packed with board meetings, acquisition deals, and the kind of high-stakes negotiations that determined the fate of thousands of employees. He didn't have time for whatever charity case had wandered into his building. "Handle it," he said curtly, already turning toward his office. "Please, sir." The voice was so small, so desperate, that it stopped him in his tracks. "Please, can you read this letter? It's very, very important." Something in that trembling voice, something in the way the child looked at him with such naked hope, made Freddie pause. Against every instinct, every rule he had about maintaining professional boundaries, he found himself walking toward the little girl. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice softer than it had been in years. "Lily," she whispered, holding up the envelope with both hands. "Lily Hamilton. And this letter is for you, Mr. Blackwood. Mama wrote it before." Her voice trailed off, but her eyes never left his face. Freddie took the envelope, noting how the paper felt soft with handling, as if it had been carried for a long time. The handwriting on the front was elegant but shaky. "Freddie Blackwood, personal and urgent. Please read immediately." Something about that handwriting sent a jolt of recognition through his system, though he couldn't place it. 7 years was a long time, and he had trained himself to forget. "Lily," he said gently, "how did you get here? Where are your parents?" "I took 3 buses," Lily said with quiet pride. "Mama taught me how to read the signs and count the stops. She said I was the bravest, smartest girl in the world, and that I could do anything if I put my mind to it." "Your mama sounds very wise. Where is she now?" Lily's lower lip trembled, but she lifted her chin with a courage that broke Freddie's heart. "She's in the hospital. She's been there for a very long time, and the doctors say—" Lily paused, clearly struggling with words too big for her young vocabulary. "They say she might have to go to heaven soon." But she said, "If I could just get this letter to you, maybe everything would be okay." The noise of the corporate world seemed to fade around Freddie as he looked into this child's eyes. In 6 years of running Sterling Industries, he had never deviated from his schedule, never allowed personal matters to interfere with business. But something about Lily, something about her desperate bravery, shattered every wall he had built around his heart. "Would you like to come to my office while I read your mama's letter?" he asked. Lily nodded vigorously, scrambling down from the oversized chair. As they walked toward his office, Freddie noticed how she tried to match his long strides with her short legs, her small hand clutching the hem of his jacket for reassurance. His office was a monument to success and isolation. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Lake Michigan, but Freddie rarely noticed the beauty beyond the glass. Awards and accolades lined the walls, but there were no personal photographs, No mementos that might hint at a life beyond corporate achievement. Wow, Lily breathed, pressing her nose against the window. You can see the whole world from up here. Not quite the whole world, Freddie said with a smile that felt rusty from disuse, but a pretty good view of Chicago. He settled behind his mahogany desk while Lily explored the office with wide-eyed wonder, her small fingers trailing along the leather-bound books and crystal awards. When she was distracted by a snow globe on his shelf, Freddie carefully opened the envelope. The scent of lavender wafted from the paper, a fragrance that hit him like a physical blow. Suddenly, he was 28 again, holding another woman as she laughed at something he'd whispered in her ear. The memory was so vivid, so unexpected, that his hands began to tremble. My dearest Freddie, I don't know if you'll even remember me, but I could never forget you. My name is Julia Hamilton, though you knew me as Julia Chen 7 years ago. We met at the Morrison Hotel during that terrible thunderstorm when the conference was canceled. You were so kind to a stranded graduate student, and I fell in love with you that night. Freddie's breath caught in his throat. Julia, beautiful, brilliant Julia, with her infectious laugh and dreams of becoming a pediatric nurse. They had spent 3 days together, talking through the night, sharing stories and dreams, and falling into something that felt like forever. And then she had disappeared from his life as suddenly as she had entered it, leaving only a note saying she had to go back to her real life. I know what you must be thinking, the letter continued. Why am I writing to you now after all these years? The answer is sleeping in the hospital bed next to me as I write this. Her name is Lily, and Freddie, she is your daughter. The words blurred as Freddie read them again, his heart pounding so hard he was sure Lily could hear it across the room. His daughter. He had a daughter. She was born 9 months after our time together. I wanted to tell you, tried to find you, but you had become so successful, so important. Your assistant said you were too busy for personal calls, and I was too proud to keep trying. I convinced myself that you wouldn't want to be tied down by a child, that you had moved on to bigger and better things. I was wrong. I should have fought harder. Freddie glanced up at Lily, who was now examining a crystal paperweight with intense concentration. The resemblance hit him like a thunderbolt. Her eyes were the same deep brown as Julia's, but the shape was his. Her stubborn chin, the way she tilted her head when she was thinking. It was like looking at a feminine version of his own childhood photographs. Freddie, I'm dying. Acute leukemia, stage 4. The doctors say I have perhaps weeks, maybe a month if I'm lucky. I've exhausted my insurance, my savings, everything. But that's not why I'm writing. Lily doesn't know how sick I am. She thinks Mama is just tired, that the medicine will make me better soon. She's the most amazing little girl, Freddie. She's smart like you, determined like you. But she has a kindness and joy that I pray she never loses. She deserves so much more than I can give her now. She deserves a father who can love her, protect her, give her the life every child should have. Tears were streaming down Freddie's face now, though he didn't remember starting to cry. He had spent 7 years building walls around his heart, convincing himself that love was a luxury he couldn't afford. But Julia's words were tearing down those walls brick by brick. I don't expect you to believe me without proof. I've included a lock of Lily's hair and my medical record showing the pregnancy. If you need a DNA test, I understand. But Freddie, please don't let my pride and your success rob Lily of the father she needs. She asks about her daddy sometimes, and I tell her that he's a very important man who helps lots of people. It's not a lie, is it? If something happens to me, Lily will have no one. My parents died when she was a baby, and I have no siblings. You are her only hope for a future filled with love and security. I'm enclosing our address. Whether you decide to meet her or not, please know that our time together gave me the greatest gift of my life. Every time I look at Lily, I see the best parts of both of us. All my love, always, Julia P.S. She loves stories about brave knights and clever princesses. Her favorite color is purple, and she's scared of thunderstorms, but pretends she isn't because she wants to be brave like the heroes in her books. I thought you should know. Freddie set the letter down with shaking hands and looked up at Lily, who was watching him with concern written across her small features. "Why are you crying, Mr. Blackwood?" she asked softly. "Did Mama's letter make you sad?" Freddie wiped his eyes and walked around his desk to kneel in front of her, bringing himself to her eye level. "Lily, can I ask you something very important?" She nodded solemnly. "What do you know about your daddy?" Lily's face brightened with innocent hope. "Mama says he's very important and helps lots of people. She says he has kind eyes and that he would love me very much if he knew about me. Do you know my daddy, Mr. Blackwood?" "Mama said you might." Freddie felt his heart breaking and healing at the same time. "Lily, I think I might be your daddy." The words hung in the air between them for a moment that felt like eternity. Then Lily's face exploded into the most beautiful smile Freddie had ever seen. "Really?" she whispered, her voice full of wonder. "Are you really my daddy?" "I think I am, sweetheart. We'll need to do some tests to be absolutely sure, but—" Freddie reached out tentatively and touched her cheek, marveling at how soft her skin was. "You have my eyes." "And your chin," Lily said seriously. "Mama always said I got my stubborn chin from my daddy." Before Freddie could respond, his office door burst open and his assistant, Patricia, rushed in with panic in her voice. "Mr. Blackwood, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but there's been an emergency call from Chicago General Hospital. They're looking for the family of Julia Hamilton. She's—" Patricia stopped short when she saw Lily, understanding flickering in her eyes. "She's what?" Freddie asked, though he already knew. "She's asking for her daughter. They say it's urgent." The drive to Chicago General Hospital passed in a blur of city streets and mounting anxiety. Lily sat in the back seat, buckled into a hastily purchased car seat, chattering nervously about her mama and asking questions about hospitals and whether the doctors were nice there. "Daddy," she said suddenly, the word still sounding miraculous to Freddie's ears. "Will Mama be happy to see you?" "I hope so, sweetheart," Freddie replied, though he wasn't sure of anything anymore. 7 years was a long time, and people changed. He had changed, becoming harder, more distant, more focused on success than on human connection. What if Julia regretted reaching out to him? What if she had romanticized their brief time together? But when they reached Julia's room, all his doubts evaporated. She was heartbreakingly beautiful, even diminished by illness. Her dark hair had grown back in soft wisps after chemotherapy, and her brown eyes still held the warmth and intelligence he remembered. When she saw him standing in the doorway with Lily, those eyes filled with tears. "Freddie," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You came. Mama." Lily ran to the bedside, climbing carefully onto the chair beside Julia's bed. "Mama, guess what? Mr. Blackwood is my daddy, my real daddy." Julia's gaze met Freddie's over their daughter's head, and 7 years of separation seemed to collapse into nothing. "Hello, Julia," he said softly. "Hello, Freddie. I wasn't sure you'd remember me." "I never forgot you," he replied honestly. "Not for a single day." As they talked, Lily sitting between them on the hospital bed, Freddie began to understand the woman Julia had become and the life she had built as a single mother. She had finished nursing school while pregnant, worked multiple jobs to support them, and raised their daughter with such love and strength that it left him in awe. "She's incredible," he told Julia as they watched Lily color in an activity book one of the nurses had brought her. "You've done an amazing job raising her." "I did my best," Julia said, her voice tired but proud. "But Freddie, she needs more than I can give her now. She needs stability, opportunities, a future I can't provide." "Julia, what exactly are the doctors saying about your condition?" Julia was quiet for a long moment, watching their daughter with eyes full of love and sorrow. "The latest round of chemotherapy didn't work. They're suggesting experimental treatments, but the insurance won't cover them, and even if they did. She trailed off, but Freddie understood. What would the treatments cost? Freddie, I didn't write that letter for money. I wrote it because Lily needs a father. I know that. But I also know that Lily needs her mother. So tell me about the treatments. Over the next hour, Julia explained the experimental immunotherapy program at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. The treatment was promising but expensive, over $300,000 for the initial phase alone. Consider it done, Freddie said without hesitation. I'll make the calls tonight. Freddie, you can't possibly. Yes, I can, and I will. His voice carried the authority of a man accustomed to making decisions that affected millions of dollars. Lily needs both her parents, and I'll be damned if I'm going to lose either of you now that I've found you again. As if sensing she was being discussed, Lily looked up from her coloring book. Daddy, are you going to make Mama better? Freddie met her hopeful gaze, feeling the weight of her trust settle on his shoulders. I'm going to do everything I possibly can, sweetheart. But I need you to be very brave, okay? I'm always brave, Lily said matter-of-factly. Mama taught me how. That evening, after Julia had fallen asleep from exhaustion and pain medication, Freddie and Lily sat in the hospital cafeteria sharing ice cream and getting to know each other. Tell me about your favorite things, Freddie said, marveling at how natural it felt to talk to this little person who shared his DNA. I like books about adventures, Lily said thoughtfully, and purple flowers, and making up songs. I don't like Brussels sprouts or when people are mean to each other. Oh, and I'm scared of thunderstorms. But don't tell Mama because she thinks I'm brave about everything. Your secret is safe with me, Freddie promised. You know, I used to be scared of thunderstorms too when I was your age. Really? But you're so big and important now. Being big and important doesn't mean you stop being scared sometimes. It just means you learn to be brave even when you're scared. Lily considered this wisdom while carefully eating her ice cream. Daddy, will you teach me to be brave like you? Lily, you're already the bravest person I know. You rode 3 buses across the city to find me. That takes more courage than anything I do at work. But I was scared the whole time, she admitted in a small voice. That's exactly what made it brave, Freddie said, reaching across to squeeze her small hand. If you hadn't been scared, it would have just been a bus ride. Being scared but doing it anyway? That's what heroes do. Over the next few days, Freddie split his time between the hospital and frantically rearranging his life to accommodate his new reality. He hired the best nannies in Chicago to help with Lily's care, arranged for Julia's transfer to Northwestern Memorial, and began the process of having DNA tests done to establish legal paternity. Not that he needed the tests to know the truth. Every moment with Lily revealed new similarities between them, her analytical way of approaching problems, her stubborn determination, her ability to charm people without even trying. But more than genetics, there was something deeper, a connection that transcended biology. She looks just like you when you're concentrating, Julia observed one afternoon as they watched Lily work on a puzzle in the hospital playroom. She has your kindness, Freddie replied, and your strength. Julia, I need you to know how sorry I am for not being there, for not fighting harder to find you when you left. We were both young and scared, Julia said gently. I could have tried harder too. But maybe everything happened the way it was supposed to. Maybe we needed these years to become the people Lily needed us to be. The experimental treatment began the following week, and the early signs were promising. Julia's energy levels began to improve, her appetite returned, and most importantly, her latest blood work showed encouraging changes. The treatment is working, Dr. Peterson, Julia's oncologist, announced during a consultation 3 weeks later. I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll see continued improvement. That night, as they celebrated the good news in Julia's hospital room, Lily fell asleep curled up between her parents, her small hand clutching Freddie's finger while her head rested on Julia's chest. She's been having nightmares, Julia whispered to Freddie. about losing me, about being alone. But she hasn't had any since you've been here. She'll never be alone, Freddie promised. Neither will you. Julia, I know this might be too fast, but I need you to know that I'm in love with you. Not just because of Lily, but because of who you are, who you've always been. Julia's eyes filled with tears. Freddie, I've loved you for 7 years. Even when I was angry, even when I convinced myself to forget you, I never stopped loving you. 2 months later, Julia was discharged from the hospital in full remission. Freddie had purchased a sprawling house in Lincoln Park with a yard big enough for Lily to play and gardens that reminded Julia of the nursing school campus where she had dreamed of their future together years ago. "Welcome home," he said, as he carried their sleeping daughter from the car to the house. "It's beautiful, Freddie," Julia breathed, looking at the home he had chosen for their family. "But it's too much. You don't have to—" "I want to," he interrupted. "Julia, I've spent 7 years building a company, accumulating wealth, achieving success, but none of it meant anything until I had you and Lily to share it with." As they settled into their new life together, Freddie discovered that being a father was simultaneously the hardest and most rewarding challenge he had ever faced. Lily was brilliant and curious and utterly fearless, traits that led to adventures like trying to cook breakfast for her parents, resulting in a kitchen covered in flour, and attempting to reorganize Freddie's home office to be more efficient, according to her 6-year-old logic. "She's just like you," Julia laughed one evening as they cleaned purple paint off the bathroom walls after Lily's attempt to redecorate her room. "She's like both of us," Freddie corrected. "She has your artistic spirit and my inability to think through the consequences of ambitious projects." 6 months after that first letter, on a crisp autumn day when Lake Michigan sparkled in the afternoon sun, Freddie took Julia and Lily for a walk along the lakefront. As they paused at their favorite bench overlooking the water, he pulled a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. "Julia," he said, dropping to one knee as Lily clapped her hands with excitement beside them. "7 years ago, I lost the love of my life because I was too scared to fight for her. I won't make that mistake again." Julia covered her mouth with her hands, tears already streaming down her cheeks. "Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making up for the years we lost? Will you let me be the husband you deserve and the father Lily needs?" "Yes," Julia whispered, then louder. "Yes, of course yes." As Freddie slipped the engagement ring onto Julia's finger, a stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds that caught the light from every angle, Lily launched herself into their arms with a squeal of delight. "We're going to be a real family," she announced to anyone within hearing distance. "My daddy asked my mama to marry him and she said yes." Their wedding took place the following spring in the garden of their Lincoln Park home, with Lily serving as both flower girl and ring bearer, insisting that she was old enough and responsible enough to handle both duties. She wore a dress the exact shade of purple as her favorite flowers and carried a basket of rose petals that she distributed with scientific precision. Dr. Peterson, who had become not just Julia's physician but a close family friend, officiated the ceremony. In his remarks, he spoke about the power of love to heal, the courage required to rebuild what seemed lost, and the miracle of a family reunited by the determination of one little girl. As Freddie and Julia exchanged vows, promising to love and protect each other through whatever challenges life might bring, Lily stood beside them with tears of happiness streaming down her young face. This little girl, who had been brave enough to deliver a letter that changed everything, had finally gotten the family she had dreamed of. In his vows, Freddie spoke directly to Lily as well as to Julia. "Lily, you came into my life carrying a letter from your mother, but you brought me so much more. You brought me purpose, joy, and the chance to be the father I never knew I wanted to be. I promise you that I will always be here, that our family will always be my first priority." Julia's vows were equally emotional. "Freddie, 7 years ago we lost each other to fear and misunderstanding, but our love created something beautiful, our daughter Lily, who brought us back together. I promise to trust in our love, to communicate openly and honestly, and to build the future we should have had all along." After the ceremony, as their small group of friends and family celebrated with dinner and dancing in the garden, Lily pulled both her parents aside for a private moment. "Mama, Daddy," she said seriously, "I have something important to tell you." Freddie and Julia exchanged amused glances, wondering what profound observation their 6-year-old daughter was about to share. "What is it, sweetheart?" Julia asked. Lily took both their hands in her small ones, her expression solemn. "I'm glad I was brave enough to take that letter to Daddy's office. I was really scared that day, but you always told me that being brave means doing the right thing even when you're scared." Freddie knelt down to Lily's level, his heart full of pride and love for this remarkable child. "Lily, you are the bravest person I know. If you hadn't delivered that letter, we might never have found each other." "The letter was important," Lily agreed, "but I think love was more important. Love made you come see us. Love made you help Mama get better. Love made us into a family." Julia wiped tears from her eyes as she listened to her daughter's wisdom. "You're absolutely right, sweetheart. Love was the most important thing of all." As the sun set over Chicago, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, the Blackwood family stood together in their garden, looking out over the city where their story had unfolded. Lily was right. It had been love that brought them together. Love that sustained them through the challenges, and love that would carry them into whatever future awaited them. Freddie wrapped his arms around his wife and daughter, marveling at how completely his life had changed from that morning when a small girl had walked into his office with a wrinkled envelope and an unshakable determination to reunite her family. "What are you thinking about, Daddy?" Lily asked, noticing his contemplative expression. "I'm thinking about how sometimes the most important things come in the smallest packages," Freddie replied, squeezing her gently. "And I'm thinking about how grateful I am that you were brave enough to deliver your mama's letter." Lily smiled up at him with the wisdom of a child who had seen her dreams come true through courage and persistence. "Mama always says that good things happen to people who don't give up. We didn't give up on being a family, did we?" "No, sweetheart," Julia said, joining their embrace as the first stars began to appear in the darkening sky. "We never gave up, and now we have forever to be together." As they stood there, surrounded by the glow of the garden lights and wrapped in the warmth of their love for each other, Freddie reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. A letter written by a desperate mother to the man she had never stopped loving. A 6-year-old girl brave enough to cross a city to deliver that letter. A love strong enough to survive 7 years of separation and the challenges that life had thrown at them. Their story had begun with a simple question. "Can you read this letter?" It's very important. But it had become something far more significant, a testament to the power of family, the strength of true love, and the courage required to fight for the people who matter most. The letter that had changed everything was now framed and hanging in Lily's bedroom, a reminder of the day a little girl's bravery had brought her family home. But more than that, it was a symbol of hope. Proof that sometimes, against all odds, love really does conquer all. As the Blackwood family headed inside to continue their celebration, Lily skipped ahead of her parents, her voice carrying back to them on the evening breeze. "Tomorrow I'm going to write letters too," she announced. "Letters to my friends telling them about my wedding and my new daddy and how dreams really do come true if you're brave enough to make them happen." Freddie and Julia exchanged a look of pure happiness, knowing that their daughter, their brave, wise, wonderful daughter, would indeed make her dreams come true, just as she had made theirs come true with one very important letter on one very ordinary morning that had turned out to be the most extraordinary day of their lives. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this beautiful story of courage, love, and family. What did you think of Lily's brave journey to reunite her parents? Tell us your name, where you're watching from, and rate this heartwarming tale from 0 to 10 if it touched your heart. Did Freddie's transformation from cold CEO to devoted father inspire you? And what about Julia's strength in fighting both illness and for her daughter's future? If this story moved you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories of love, family, and the power of never giving up. Share this video with someone who believes in the magic of true love and the courage it takes to fight for what matters most. We have incredible new stories coming your way that will make you laugh, cry, and believe in the extraordinary power of the human heart. See you in the next story. And remember, sometimes the most important letters are the ones that come from the heart.